So, when AEW and New Japan first announced Forbidden Door in 2022, the concept was simple, but there was a spectacle to it, just off the fact that it was happening. You're taking two major wrestling companies that had barely worked together on this scale, putting them on one card, and giving fans matches that they never thought they would see. It's that as an idea in itself was enough to sell the show. Just the fact that this crossover was happening was the attraction of the show. And now 4 years later, Forbidden Door is still one of AEW's biggest annual events. Something seems to have changed along the way, and now no one seems to agree on what Forbidden Door is supposed to be anymore. And I'm referring to the fans, not the companies, because over the last few months, last like 2 months, while watching the discussion around Forbidden Door 2026, I started noticing that the criticism was coming from every single direction. Like, there were fans wanting more people from New Japan, some wanting more Stardom, some wanting more CMLL. Of course, I'm saying that people want to see less AEW versus AEW matches, even though there's two finals that have to happen here so that we can get all in. Which, wanting international talent in the 6-on-6, sure, but there's a bunch of rivalries going on. World champions involved, and has to protect his legs, so... Some are obviously wanting more of those AEW vs. New Japan dream matches, and some people were wishing there were more cross-promotion storylines involved. Some wanted the event moved out of summer entirely so that New Japan and Stardom could focus more on their G1 Climax and their 5-star Grand Prix, even though that's 2 weeks after Forbidden Door, this year at least. But the more I looked into this conversation, the more I realized that a lot of these people weren't even arguing over whether Forbidden Door was good or bad. These are discussions, and this is discourse over different versions of what Forbidden Door should actually be, which has been happening for years now. If you go back to the initial Forbidden Door, it had one job, and that was to prove that this concept can work. People wanted to see these crossover matches. They wanted to see wrestlers from different worlds share the ring together, and that was a novelty that carried the event to about 16,000 people sitting in the United Center in Chicago. Because it was the first one, fans were willing to overlook a lot, I suppose. Injuries were happening, matches were changed, plans changed, but no one seemed to care too much about that because it's the first shot. Things happen. The concept itself was exciting and new, and everyone wanted to see it, and the existence of that Forbidden Door was the story of it. And then coming out of that show being one of AEW's best pay-per-views of all time, and possibly the pay-per-view of the year that year, all of the matches lived up or surpassed their expectations. You were getting cross-promotional stuff like Will Ospreay versus Orange Cassidy for the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship, and Jay White versus Adam Page versus Adam Cole versus Kazuchika Okada for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and Jon Moxley versus Hiroshi Tanahashi for the AEW Interim World Title, Claudio versus ZSJ, and Darby Allin and Sting teaming with Shingo Takagi against El Phantasmo and the Young Bucks as Bullet Club, Pac versus Clark Connors versus Malachi Black versus Miro for the AEW All-Atlantic title, and FTR versus Roppongi Vice versus the United Empire for the IWGP Tag Team and Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. All this novelty and new combinations of wrestlers you did not expect to see, as they were all signed to companies on opposite sides of the planet. Then the next year, the novelty was still there, but now things are already starting to change, because now fans aren't asking whether this show should exist, because now they know it exists, and it can work, and it can thrive, and it can prosper. Now they're asking what dream matches can and should happen next. The expectations are growing now, which is where we start getting these problems, because once you give wrestling fans one dream match, they start thinking about 10 more. Now people are imagining cards that can happen instead of the card that will likely happen. And fantasy booking has no limitations, but reality does. Now we get to that pay-per-view, which this year, instead of Chicago, USA, it's in Toronto, Canada. And we still have these extremely unique combinations. We have MJF versus Hiroshi Tanahashi for the World Championship opening in the main card. We have CM Punk and Satoshi Kojima in the Owen Hart Cup quarterfinals. We have Orange Cassidy versus Daniel Garcia versus Shibata versus Zack Sabre Jr. for the AEW International title. We have Sonata versus Jack Perry for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. We got a 10-man tag match between the Elite, Eddie Kingston and Tomohiro Ishii versus Blackpool Combat Club, Konosuke Takeshita and Shota Umino. We got the absolutely phenomenal match between Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega for the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship. We got Los Sting Gobernables with Darby Allin, Sting, and Tetsuya Naito versus Minoru Suzuki and the Jericho Appreciation Society. And then in the main event of that show, we got Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada in a near 30-minute match. So we go through another year, and the matches are still living up to expectations and surpassing expectations, and the show as a whole is phenomenal. So then, of course, we roll on to the next year, which we're not in Canada this year, we're back in the USA, we're in New York. Now, this crossover is expected because we've already done it twice. It's worked both times. We're expecting crossover talent. We have AEW and New Japan have an active working partnership, so we're occasionally seeing New Japan talent in AEW and AEW talent in New Japan on occasion for different purposes. We're seeing AEW talent in the G1 Climax. We're seeing New Japan talent contend for AEW belts. In 2024, we're getting Bryan Danielson versus Shingo Takagi in like the Hart Cup, and Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy, and Hook Shabbat, and the Ops versus the Learning Tree and Jeff Cobb, and Mercedes Moné versus Stephanie Vaquer for the TBS and New Japan Strong Women's Championship. And in the main event, we're seeing Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay for the AEW World Championship. And in 2025, we really started to get these complaints because, yeah, a lot of the talent here were AEW signed talent, but still had that dynamic. Because now, not only are we not in June, we're in August, and we're in the UK. So now we're not just trying to entertain a North American crowd at home and in the audience. We are trying to entertain a UK crowd, an England crowd, a London England crowd. So what's the biggest Forbidden Door style match we can put on in London? Nigel McGuinness versus Zack Sabre Jr. Like, they did that for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. And if you look at the rest of the card, the matches are also phenomenal. In the Lights Out Steel Cage match between Darby Allin, the Golden Lovers, Tanahashi, and Will Ospreay against the Death Riders and the Young Bucks. We're getting Adam Page versus MJF, and Okada versus Swerve Strickland for the Unified title, and Toni Storm versus Athena. Now we're hearing more and more AEW talent because the G1 Climax. We're also getting Kyle Fletcher versus Hiromu Takahashi. Like, we're still getting it less, but we're still getting it. So the landscape at this point has changed. The crossover isn't shocking. New Japan talent in AEW wasn't shocking. AEW talent in New Japan wasn't shocking. The door is not forbidden at this point. It's an open door because it's a healthy partnership now. And the identity crisis of Forbidden Door starts here, because if the novelty's gone, then what exactly is Forbidden Door selling? And that answer changes depending on who you ask. Because some people do still see Forbidden Door as that dream match show that should be packed with matches that can only happen once, or once-in-a-lifetime style matches. And the bigger the fantasy booking potential, the better it is to them. And others see it as a celebration of the potential of wrestling promotional partnerships to thrive, prosper, and work. AEW, New Japan, Stardom, CMLL, and Ring of Honor have all had joint shows. New Japan and CMLL have Fantastica Mania every year. New Japan and Stardom have a historic crossover. AEW and New Japan have Forbidden Door, and now we're including Stardom, CMLL, and Ring of Honor in Forbidden Door. New Japan's hosting Wrestle Dynasty. CMLL, Ring of Honor, and Stardom have Global Wars. CMLL and Stardom, there's a CMLL Japan Women's Championship for the CMLL and Stardom partnership. AEW and CMLL have Grand Slam Mexico. So for these fans, the more companies represented, the better. Others care less about the crossover itself and more about the stories being told. They want matches with consequences. They want title implications. They want results and stories that matter after the show ends. Which none of these are wrong necessarily, but they do often contradict each other. And discourse gets messy when things start to contradict. Now, if we look at this year's Forbidden Door, 2 months ago, before the card was finalized, before a date was even said for the show, just that it was going to be in the summer, people were already debating whether the show had lost its identity. I saw people saying that the event should be moved to fall or another part of the year so that New Japan and Stardom could focus on their tournaments. Others were questioning whether New Japan talent would even appear after 3 matches had been announced, and they were Owen Hart Cup final, 6v6 steel cage match. Some people were feeling that Stardom wasn't being represented properly before any matches were even announced. People are arguing that the event isn't forbidden enough anymore, if you will, which many of these criticisms are being made before any or most of the card had been announced. So now we're just throwing our expectations out there, just hoping for the worst, seemingly. Comparing reality to the version of Forbidden Door that they made up in their heads, and that comparison doesn't work with reality. Like, reality will lose in that conversation, in that comparison. Reality has budgets, reality has schedules and injuries and storylines ongoing, and fantasy booking doesn't really take any of that into account. Specifically zone in on the Stardom example here. Leading into this year's show, there were concerns about Stardom's participation. People were like, oh, Starlight Kid needs to focus on the 5-star Grand Prix. She doesn't need to be fantasy booked for this show. Like, you're worrying about her scheduling. If she has scheduling problems, Stardom won't send her. Okay? They're saying Starlight Kid shouldn't be fantasy booked for AEW Forbidden Door. She has to focus on the 5-star Grand Prix and focus on greatness over there. AEW just going to book the Joshis to lose to AEW mid-card women's wrestlers anyway. And then, of the 2 Stardom contracted wrestlers to be announced for the show, Starlight Kid is fighting for the Women's World Championship, and Micah is in a qualifying match for a potential shot at the TBS Championship. So all this 2 months out worrying about people's schedules before a date had even been announced for the show, which it's 2 weeks before the 5-star Grand Prix, and questioning whether people will even appear, the talent start getting announced like 2 weeks before, as they always are, and now the conversation's shifting. Now people are like, oh, we should probably draw back our words on Forbidden Door. Yeah. Like, every single solution that AEW finds for these complaints, now there's just another version of the event created in people's heads, because of the larger question of what people want Forbidden Door to even be. Because this discussion can't just be about one specific issue. And like, you get the Stardom one, and you get the AEW versus AEW matches. Some fans hate them on principle on this style of card because, oh, why are we doing this when it's supposed to be a joint show? That every match should involve multiple promotions, like Fantastica Mania usually does. Some people don't care. Some people don't care if the match is important to an ongoing story. They're fine with it being on the card. Again, neither side is wrong objectively, but they're just operating on different definitions of what they think Forbidden Door should accomplish. One side's prioritizing this crossover novelty, company versus company idea. Some are prioritizing does it affect any of the companies in the future? And those don't always work together. Those don't always align. Because you can't complain about 2 of the first matches announced being AEW versus AEW matches when we have to have the finals for the Owen Hart Cup to get to All In. It's in 2 months. How far do you want us to stretch this tournament out before we get the semifinals and the finals done? People were saying the women's semifinals didn't happen fast enough. There were injuries. They stretched it out just a little bit so Saudi could possibly recover for it. She couldn't recover for it. They started. They went. So yeah, Forbidden Door discussions feel so weird now compared to 2022 because everyone agreed on, yeah, this needs to work. It was simple. Open the door up. Let's see what happens. Will it work? Will it not work? And it's been working. It's worked every year. But now the door's been open for years. There's no real question on if these companies can work together, if these promotions can work together, because we already know they can. The question is what the fans want the event to become, and that consensus disappears there. Because booking can't be Forbidden Door's challenge. It cannot be the challenge, because every single one of them has been fantastic. All of them have been fantastic. Majority of AEW's pay-per-views are fantastic, so doubting the quality of an AEW pay-per-view 7 years in is just, what are you doing? So maybe it's the identity of Forbidden Door, because the show doesn't lack one, but many people are creating so many different versions of it in their head. Some want a dream match fest, some want like an interpromotional World Cup style thing, some want a showcase of international wrestling, some want storyline progressions, some want matches for the sake of matches, which some people want all of the above at the same time, and it's impossible because you can only have so many matches on the card. It's going to start at a certain time, so these cards have limits. All shows have limits. All partnerships have limits. And a fantasy version of Forbidden Door can and will always have an advantage over the real version in that it doesn't have to exist. They don't actually have to play that out. We don't have to see. It doesn't have to worry about injuries or schedules or restrictions. It doesn't exist. So, funniest thing, despite all of this discourse and all this debating that we've seen more and more and more, every single time an AEW pay-per-view rolls around, every single time Forbidden Door rolls around, is that the event keeps on succeeding. And every time the show ends and the event's a success, the criticism changes, the expectations change, the discourse changes, But every year the show happens, every year people watch, every year new matches get added to the history of the show, and we're right back having the same conversations again. Forbidden Door hasn't failed, it probably never will fail, but nobody can agree on what success is supposed to look like in this regard. And even though like the matches are great and the partnerships are just healthy, great, and working, and the results seem to work just fine, I think the craziest thing and the most eyebrow-raising, fascinating thing is that 4 years after the concept was introduced, wrestling fans still have not decided what Forbidden Door is supposed to be. But it looks like we've got a long way to go. Despite all this discourse, Forbidden Door season will always be one of my favorite wrestling seasons of the year, right next to Continental Classic season. And with Forbidden Door season being one of my favorite wrestling seasons of the year, I'm going to Forbidden Door this year in San Jose at the SAP Center. So, if you would like to see me talk about me going to Forbidden Door this year, you can watch this video right here. And if you would like to watch the Forbidden Door vlog, you clearly didn't watch the last video's ending because I just told you. And did you read the date? It's not out yet because it hasn't happened yet. The show hasn't happened yet, okay? So, tonight, what you could do is you can watch all of my wrestling vlogs, whether it's Revolution or New Japan Strong Style Evolved, or even AEW Big Business, when Mina Shirakawa first appeared in Ring of Honor, and Mercedes Moné debuted in AEW. You can watch that vlog too. And then Monday, Tuesday, watch my account, subscribe, hit that bell so that you get the notification when the vlog comes out, right? You get what I'm saying? And when that vlog comes out, you can watch that one, right? The Forbidden Door one, which very well might be my longest vlog ever. But now that you know where to go, get off my video.